Urgent heavenly alert. God says, this concerns your health. Give me just 3 minutes. Open now before midnight. This is not a random video. This is not a coincidence. You did not stumble here by accident. There are moments in life when heaven interrupts routine, when God steps into ordinary time and releases a warning wrapped in mercy. This is one of those moments. Before this day ends, before the clock strikes midnight, there is something you must understand about your health. And no, this is not fear speaking. This is divine protection speaking. When God says, this concerns your health, He is not whispering casually. He is alerting you because something unseen has been attempting to work quietly in the background of your life. You may have noticed subtle changes. Maybe your energy has not been the same. Maybe there has been unusual pressure, stress that lingers longer than it should. Perhaps your body hath been signaling something, but you brushed it aside, telling yourself it is nothing. But heaven does not ignore patterns. Heaven does not overlook what you call small. When God sends an alert, it means something has reached a point where delay is no longer safe. Midnight in the spirit is not just a time on a clock. It represents a turning point. It represents a line drawn between what was and what will be. And tonight, there is a line being drawn over your health. Health is not just physical. It is spiritual, emotional, and mental alignment working together. What affects your spirit eventually touches your body. What burdens your heart eventually drains your strength. Many people focus only on symptoms, but God looks at roots. There are battles that do not begin in the bloodstream. They begin in the atmosphere around you. There are attacks that do not start in organs. They start in stress, in fear, in unresolved weight that has been sitting on your shoulders for too long. And the danger of these silent pressures is that they feel normal. You adapt to them. You carry them quietly. You keep going. But your body keeps the record of every unspoken strain. This is why this alert is urgent. Because what is subtle today can become serious tomorrow. What feels manageable now can grow if left unchecked. And God, in His mercy, does not wait until something breaks to speak. He warns before collapse. He nudges before crisis. He calls before midnight. You might be wondering, why me? Why now? Because heaven sees what you cannot. Heaven sees the exhaustion you have normalized. Heaven sees the silent anxiety you smile through. Heaven sees the nights your mind refuses to rest even when your body lies down. And God loves you too much to let you continue unaware. There is also something deeper. The enemy understands that if he cannot stop your purpose directly, he will try to weaken your vessel. He will not always come with dramatic events. Sometimes he comes through slow draining, through accumulated stress, through distractions that steal your rest, through thoughts that rob your peace. Because if your health is compromised, your focus is compromised. If your strength is reduced, your confidence is shaken. And if your body feels unstable, your faith can feel harder to stand on. But tonight, heaven is exposing the strategy before it advances any further. This message is not here to scare you. It is here to empower you. The fact that you are hearing this means there is still time. The fact that you clicked means grace is still ahead of you. God is not announcing doom. He is offering intervention. He is saying pause. Pay attention. Align. 3 minutes can shift direction. 3 minutes of awareness can prevent months of struggle. 3 minutes of obedience can close doors that were quietly opening. Before midnight represents urgency, but it also represents opportunity. Midnight in Scripture has often been the hour of change, the hour when chains break, when prayers are answered, when shifts happen suddenly. But shifts require attention. They require agreement. They require you to recognize that this moment matters. And it does. This concerns your health because your health carries your calling. Your body carries your assignments. Your strength carries your future. And heaven is invested in protecting what carries purpose. Right now, I need you to understand something clearly. This is personal. This is not a general broadcast floating in the air. This is targeted. If your heart is beating faster as you listen, if something inside you feels stirred, that is not anxiety. That is confirmation. God is highlighting an area that needs alignment. Not condemnation. Not panic. Alignment. There may be habits that need adjusting. There may be stress that needs releasing. There may be spiritual disciplines that need restoring. But first, there must be awareness. So take a breath. Slow down. Recognize the seriousness of this moment without fear. You are not being attacked without defense. You are being alerted before impact. And that is mercy. Before midnight arrives, before this day closes, something can shift in your favor. But you must lean in. You must listen. Because what comes next will begin to uncover what has truly been affecting your health, and why heaven refused to stay silent about it. There are warnings that shout, and then there are warnings that whisper. The most dangerous ones are often the quietest. When God says, "This concerns your health," He is not only speaking about dramatic diagnoses or sudden emergencies. He is drawing your attention to the silent warning signs you may have overlooked. The kind that blend into daily life. The kind you dismiss as just stress, just a busy season, or just getting older. But heaven does not call something urgent without reason. Have you felt a level of exhaustion that sleep does not fix? Not just physical tiredness, but a deep draining, as if your strength leaks out faster than it refills. That is not always normal. Have you noticed tension in your body that never fully relaxes? Tight shoulders, heavy breathing, a racing mind that refuses to slow down even in quiet moments. These are not random sensations. They are signals. Your body speaks the language of pressure long before it collapses under it. Some of you have been carrying emotional weight for months, maybe years. Unresolved disappointment, silent grief, fear about the future. You function. You smile. You show up for others. But internally, your system has been on constant alert. And when the body remains in a state of stress for too long, it begins to break down subtly. Immunity weakens. Sleep patterns shift. Appetite changes. Focus declines. These are not merely physical reactions. They are alarms. There is also spiritual fatigue. A dryness you cannot explain. A loss of passion for things that once energized you. When your spirit is depleted, your body often follows. You were not designed to run on empty. You were not created to carry unprocessed burdens indefinitely. And when you ignore the early signs, they intensify until they can no longer be ignored. Another silent warning sign is isolation. Pulling away from community. Avoiding conversations. Choosing distraction over reflection. The enemy loves isolation because it keeps struggles hidden. When struggles stay hidden, they grow roots. And when they grow roots, they become harder to uproot. But God exposes early so restoration can happen gently rather than forcefully. Pay attention to irritability that feels disproportionate. Small things triggering large reactions. That can be a nervous system under strain. Notice when your thoughts become consistently negative or catastrophic. That is not weakness. That is pressure speaking. and prolonged mental pressure always finds a way to manifest physically. There is also the subtle compromise of rest, staying up later than necessary, scrolling endlessly, avoiding stillness, because stillness would force you to feel what you have been avoiding. But your body was designed for rhythm, work and rest, output and recovery. When rhythm is broken long enough, imbalance begins. You may have even normalized pain, minor aches that linger, headaches that return frequently, digestive discomfort that you brush aside. Your body whispers before it screams. And tonight, heaven is amplifying the whisper so you do not have to experience the scream. Here is something crucial. Not every health challenge is spiritual attack, but some are spiritually influenced through prolonged stress, fear, and emotional strain. The enemy understands the power of slow erosion. He chips away at peace. He chips away at joy. He chips away at rest. Because if he can keep you slightly off balance, slightly fatigued, slightly overwhelmed, you will never operate at full strength. And partial strength limits full purpose. But this is where awareness becomes power. The moment you recognize a pattern, you regain authority over it. The moment you admit something has not been right, you create space for correction. Denial delays healing. Recognition accelerates it. Right now, I want you to be honest with yourself. Which of these signs have been present in your life? Where have you been overriding your body's signals? Where have you convinced yourself that constant stress is normal? It is not normal. It is common, but it is not normal. You were created for peace, not perpetual pressure. And this is where I ask you to engage. If this message is opening your eyes, if you recognize that God is speaking directly into your situation, take a moment to respond. Like this video as a sign that you are choosing awareness over denial. Comment I receive if you are ready to confront what had been hidden. Share this message with someone whose health you have been worried about, because this alert may be for them too. And if you have not already, subscribe to this channel and become part of a community that refuses to ignore divine warnings. When you engage, you are not just supporting a video. You are amplifying a message that could protect someone's life. Do not underestimate the power of simple obedience. Acknowledging the signs is the first step. What you do next determines the direction of your health journey. Heaven has sounded the alert. The signs have been identified. And now, we are about to uncover something deeper. The hidden root behind the attack that has been quietly influencing more than you realized. And now we go deeper. Because warning signs are only the surface. Symptoms are signals, but they are not always the source. When God says, "This concerns your health," He is not only pointing to what you feel, He is revealing what hath been feeding it. There is a hidden root behind the attack, and until the root is exposed, the cycle continues. Many health struggles begin long before the body reacts. They begin in the heart. An unspoken disappointment, and buried offense, and fear that was never confronted. Bitterness is heavy. Anxiety is corrosive. Chronic worry places your entire system under invisible strain. You may not see it immediately, but your body feels what your spirit carries. Every unresolved emotion sends signals through your nervous system. Every suppressed fear keeps your body in a state of alert. Over time, this becomes exhaustion, inflammation, imbalance. Some of you have been strong for everyone else. You became the stable one, the dependable one, the one who absorbs pressure and keeps moving. But strength without release becomes dangerous. God never designed you to carry permanent weight. Even machines overeat without pause. How much more a human soul? There is also the root of fear. Loud panic but quiet, constant concern. Fear about finances. Fear about family. Fear about the future. Fear about what can go wrong. Fear whispers worst-case scenarios until your body begins reacting as if those scenarios are already happening. Heart rate shifts. Muscle tighten. Hormones spike. And you call it just stress. But heaven calls it a burden that must be lifted. Unforgiveness is another hidden root. When you replay hurt repeatedly, your body relives it repeatedly. The nervous system does not always distinguish between memory and present danger. Each replay reactivates tension. Each silent resentment reactivates strain. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is release. It is cutting a cord that has been draining you silently. And then there is spiritual neglect. Not rebellion but drift. You became busy, distracted, overloaded. Where going? Stillness disappeared. Reflection faded. When your spirit is not replenished, your body compensates by trying to manage everything alone. That is overwhelming. You were never meant to operate disconnected from divine strength. Here is what the enemy understands. If he cannot destroy you suddenly, he will attempt to deplete you gradually. He knows that slow draining feels less threatening. He knows that you are more likely to ignore gradual fatigue than dramatic crisis. So he works subtly, layer by layer, burden by burden, thought by thought, until you wake up one day wondering why you feel so weak. But God exposes what the enemy disguises. Tonight, the hidden root is being named so it can be removed. Awareness is authority. When you identify the root, you stop fighting only symptoms. You address the source. Ask yourself honestly, what have I been carrying that I was never meant to carry alone? What fear have I entertained repeatedly? What pain have I rehearsed instead of released? What pressure have I normalized that is slowly harming me? This is not condemnation. This is invitation. Invitation to unload. Invitation to realign. Invitation to stop pretending you are unaffected. Because your body has been speaking the truth your mouth has avoided. And here is the turning point. When the root is exposed, healing can accelerate. When fear is confronted, peace can replace it. When forgiveness is chosen, tension decreases. When spiritual connection is restored, strength returns. Health is not just medicine. It is alignment. There is something profound about this moment. The fact that this message reached you before midnight means the cycle can break before it deepens. You are not late. You are not beyond restoration. You are at the exact intersection of warning and mercy. But listen carefully. What comes next will challenge what you thought you understood about timing and health. There is a reason midnight was mentioned in this alert. There is a spiritual principle connected to that hour that most people overlook. And when you understand it, everything shifts. Hold on to this awareness, because what is about to be revealed will change how you respond from this night forward. Before we move further, seal this moment with intention. Type "My health is restored" in the comments if this is speaking directly to you. Lesson code 419 is now activated over your body and mind. Let this be the line where draining stops and restoration begins. The words you are hearing are not accidental. They are seeds. And when seeds are planted in good soil, they multiply. If this message has opened your eyes to the hidden root behind your health struggle, then you understand how critical this mission is. There are countless souls silently carrying burdens that are weakening them, and they do not even realize the root. When you give through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, using the link in the description or the PayPal QR code flashing in this video, you are not funding a channel. You are sowing into a harvest of healing. Scripture declares that when you sow generously, you reap generously, and this is that moment. As you release your seed, heaven releases strength. As you pour oil into this mission, God pours restoration into your household. I am asking you now, become the reason another person hears this warning before it is too late. Activate your giving. Sow the seed. Let your obedience tonight become someone else's breakthrough. Midnight is not just a time. It is a threshold. It is the dividing line between what was and what will be. When God says, "Open now before midnight," He is not speaking poetically. He is revealing the seriousness of a spiritual window. Midnight represents transition. It represents a shift in atmosphere. It represents the final moments before something either closes or begins. Throughout history, midnight has symbolized decisive change. It is the hour when darkness appears strongest, yet it is also the hour when heaven often moves most powerfully. Why? Because midnight exposes contrast. It is the peak of night just before the promise of dawn begins its approach. And spiritually, that means something critical for your health. There are seasons when strain builds quietly. Pressure accumulates. Fatigue increases. Stress compounds. You may not notice the gradual incline, but heaven does. Midnight represents the moment when accumulation reaches its tipping point. It is the line where continuation without correction becomes dangerous. God, in His mercy, calls you to attention before that line is crossed. Think about this carefully. Many crises do not happen instantly. They are the result of ignored warnings over time. The body whispers. The mind signals. The spirit nudges. But when signals are dismissed repeatedly, the system eventually forces a shutdown. Midnight is symbolic of that edge. It is the final call before escalation. But here is the powerful part. Midnight is also the hour of intervention. It is the time when chains have been broken. It is the moment when sudden reversals occur. It is the hour when what seemed locked begins to open. That means midnight is not only about danger, it is about opportunity. It is about divine interruption before irreversible damage. Why would God connect your health to midnight? Because health is deeply connected to timing. Stress unmanaged over time becomes damage. Fear entertained over time becomes dysfunction. Exhaustion sustained over time becomes breakdown. But alignment chosen at the right time becomes restoration. This is about timing. There is a window right now, before patterns become permanent, before strain becomes structural, before minor imbalance becomes major disruption. And God is saying, pause here, adjust here, align here. Because once midnight passes, the direction either stabilizes or intensifies. Spiritually, midnight is also a test of responsiveness. When most people are unaware, distracted, or asleep, those who are attentive move into breakthrough. Responsiveness matters. Delay carries consequences. Obedience carries protection. Some of you have sensed this urgency already. That quiet inner prompting telling you to rest more, to release something, to forgive someone, to change a habit, to seek help, to pray differently. That prompting is not random. It is heaven knocking before midnight. The danger is not ignorance. It is postponement. Saying, I'll deal with it later. Saying, it's not that serious. Saying, I can handle it. But midnight represents the end of later. It represents the boundary of procrastination. It calls for action now. And there is something else. Midnight forces evaluation. At midnight, a day ends. What was done cannot be undone. What was neglected cannot be revisited in that same day. It is finality. In the same way, prolonged neglect of your health reaches points of no return if left unattended long enough. That is why this alert carries urgency. Not fear, urgency. But listen carefully. God does not warn without providing a path forward. If He calls you before midnight, it means He has already prepared a way to stabilize what has been unstable. He is not highlighting vulnerability to shame you. He is highlighting it to shield you. There is also a prophetic layer to midnight. It represents decision. Darkness can either intimidate you into passivity, or it can position you for divine intervention. The choice belongs to you. Will you treat this moment casually, or will you treat it as sacred? Health is sacred. Your body is not disposable. Your strength is not optional. Your well-being is not secondary. It carries your calling, your relationships, your assignments, your future. And midnight is the reminder that time is not endless. You cannot keep postponing rest. You cannot keep carrying unresolved burdens. You cannot keep ignoring warning signs. You cannot keep functioning in survival mode. Midnight says, decide. Decide to release. Decide to adjust. Decide to prioritize what you have minimized. This is not about dramatic overhauls overnight. It is about decisive alignment before escalation. Small corrections before major consequences. Gentle shifts before forced ones. Imagine midnight as a gate. On one side is continuation of the current trajectory. On the other side is intentional change. God is calling you to step through the gate consciously, not accidentally. And here is the hope woven into this urgency. Midnight never lasts. It is temporary. It is a moment. And once it passes, a new day begins. That means this alert is not a message of doom. It is a message of transition. You are being invited into a new pattern, a new rhythm, a new level of awareness. But to walk into that new day, something must happen within the next few moments. Something intentional. Something focused. Something simple but powerful. Because God did not say, "Give me 3 months." He said, "Give me just 3 minutes." And what those 3 minutes represent is about to be revealed in a way that may surprise you. When God says, "Give me just 3 minutes," He is not minimizing the seriousness of your health. He is magnifying the power of focused obedience. 3 minutes may seem small compared to years of stress, months of exhaustion, or weeks of discomfort. But heaven does not measure transformation the way humans do. God can shift direction in a moment. He can realign what has been drifting in a fraction of the time it took to drift. The 3-minute divine window is about interruption. It is about stopping momentum before it carries you further into imbalance. Most health decline is not instant. It is gradual. And what is gradual can be redirected quickly when awareness meets action. 3 minutes represents intentional pause. Think about how rarely you truly pause. Not scrolling. Not multitasking. Not thinking about the next obligation. Just stopping. Breathing. Becoming aware. Your nervous system was designed to reset in moments of stillness. But constant stimulation keeps it in alert mode. Those 3 minutes are not symbolic. They are functional. They are enough time to calm your breathing, lower stress hormones, and signal safety to your body. But this window is not just physical. It is spiritual. 3 minutes of surrender can break a cycle of internal striving. 3 minutes of honest prayer can release months of hidden pressure. 3 minutes of forgiveness, spoken sincerely, can lift a burden that has been silently affecting your sleep, your heart rate, your digestion. When God asks for 3 minutes, He is asking for your full attention without distraction. Here is what those 3 minutes could look like. Minute 1, awareness. Sit still and ask yourself, what have I been carrying? Name it specifically. Stress about work, fear about finances, hurt from a relationship, uncertainty about the future. Speak it internally. Do not generalize. Perceive creates release. Minute 2, release. Consciously decide that you will not continue carrying this alone. Breathe deeply. Inhale slowly. Exhale slowly. With each exhale, imagine that weight leaving your chest. Whisper, I release this. Even if emotions rise, let them. Depressed emotion is stored tension. Released emotion is relief. Minute 3, realignment. Invite divine strength back into the center of your life. Say, God, realign my health. Realign my mind. Realign my habits. Commit to one small adjustment you know you need to make. Not 10. Not 20. But maybe it is going to bed earlier. Maybe it is scheduling a medical checkup you postponed. Maybe it is setting boundaries. Maybe it is restarting a spiritual discipline. One decision can redirect an entire trajectory. This is why the 3-minute window matters. It disrupts autopilot. It interrupts neglect. It shifts you from passive endurance to active stewardship. And do not underestimate how powerful a small window can be. A tiny crack allows light into a dark room. A slight turn of a steering wheel redirects a vehicle miles down the road. In the same way, 3 focus minutes can prevent years of compounded strain. Some of you are thinking, can it really be that simple? The answer is this. Simple does not mean insignificant. Most people ignore simple instructions because they expect complexity. But often, healing begins with simplicity, awareness, release, realignment. There is another layer to the number 3. It represents completion. Beginning, middle, and end. Body, mind, and spirit. When you give 3 intentional minutes, you symbolically bring completion to the cycle of silent neglect. You declare that this pattern stops here. And remember, this is before midnight. That means this action happens before escalation. You are not responding after collapse. You are responding in prevention. Prevention is wisdom. Prevention is mercy. Prevention is power. Imagine if you treated your health with this level of attention daily. 3 minutes in the morning. 3 minutes at night. Focused breathing. Focused reflection. Focused surrender. Over time, the consistency recalibrates your entire system. Your body begins to trust that rest is coming. Your mind begins to trust that burdens will be processed. Your spirit begins to feel strengthened instead of depleted. This is not about dramatic emotional display. It is about intentional stillness. It is about obedience in small windows that produce large outcomes. You may not feel fireworks when you take those 3 minutes. You may not feel instant energy rushing back. But what you are doing is preventing invisible accumulation. You are lowering internal pressure. You are restoring rhythm. You are stepping out of survival mode and into stewardship. Tonight, before midnight, honor this window. Do not overthink it. Do not postpone it. Do not minimize it. 3 minutes can mark the difference between continuation and correction. And as you step into this pause, something else will become clear. There has been a specific strategy working quietly against your health. A pattern designed not to destroy you suddenly, but to drain you slowly. And once that strategy is exposed, you will never overlook it again. Now that you understand the urgency of midnight and the power of 3 intentional minutes, we must move into something deeper, something personal. This is your spiritual checkup. Just as a medical examination evaluates hidden conditions before they become visible crises, a spiritual checkup examines the unseen areas influencing your health. Because what is happening in your body is often connected to what is happening beneath the surface of your soul. A checkup begins with honesty, not performance, not denial, not comparison. Honesty. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. So let me ask you gently but directly, how is your inner world really doing? Not the version you present publicly, not the strong face you show your family. The real condition. Start with your heart posture. Have you been operating in gratitude, or have you slipped into quiet resentment? Gratitude stabilizes the nervous system and shifts perspective. It releases calming chemicals in the brain that signal safety. Resentment, on the other hand, keeps the body in tension. It keeps your system braced. If your heart has been leaning toward frustration more than thankfulness, that imbalance affects more than your mood. It affects your physical well-being. Next, examine your stress load. Not just the presence of stress, but the management of it. Stress is not always avoidable. Life brings responsibility. But unmanaged stress becomes chronic strain. Chronic strain becomes internal wear. Ask yourself, when was the last time I truly rested without guilt? When was the last time I allowed myself to unplug completely? If you cannot remember, that is not a small detail. That is a signal. Now consider forgiveness. This is one of the most overlooked health factors in spiritual checkups. Holding on to offense may feel justified, but your body does not interpret justification. It interprets threat. Each time you replay an injustice, your body reacts as if it is happening again. Your heart rate rises. Your muscles tense. Hormones surge. Over time, this constant reactivation weakens resilience. Forgiveness does not excuse wrong behavior. It releases you from carrying its weight. Then there is fear. Not dramatic panic, but low-grade worry that hums in the background of your mind. Financial uncertainty. Family concerns. Health anxiety itself. Fear keeps your system hyper-alert. It makes rest shallow. It makes sleep fragmented. It makes digestion irregular. The body is not designed for constant vigilance. If fear has become a companion, it must be addressed. Also examine your spiritual rhythm. Have you been feeding your spirit consistently, or have you been surviving on fragments? Your spirit is not an accessory. It is the core from which strength flows. When spiritual practices fade, reflection, prayer, meditation on truth, you may not notice immediate collapse. But over time, depletion sets in. The body begins to compensate for spiritual emptiness by overworking, overthinking, overstressing. Now ask yourself about boundaries. Have you been saying yes when your body was pleading for no? Overcommitment is a silent health risk. Constant availability drains internal reserves. You are not required to carry every responsibility. You are not designed to meet every expectation. Boundaries protect health. This spiritual checkup is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to clarify what needs adjustment. Think of it as recalibration. When something is slightly off-center, small corrections prevent larger misalignments. You do not need to fix everything tonight. You need to identify what requires attention. Here is something powerful. Your body wants to heal. It is designed for restoration. Given proper rest, reduced stress, emotional release, and spiritual alignment, it moves toward balance naturally. But you must cooperate with that design. Ignoring signals delays recovery. Responding to them accelerates it. During this checkup, notice where you feel resistance. Resistance often points directly to the root. If the idea of forgiveness makes you uncomfortable, that may be the area needing release. If the thought of setting boundaries triggers guilt, that may be the change required. If slowing down feels foreign, that may be the exact medicine your system needs. Remember, this is not about blame. It is about stewardship. Your health is not separate from your spiritual life. It is influenced by it. Mind, body, and spirit are interconnected. When one area suffers, others compensate until they can no longer sustain the imbalance. Take another slow breath right now. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw relax. Even this small act communicates safety to your body. Small signals accumulate just as stress does. Consistent calm rebuilds what consistent pressure erodes. And here is the encouragement woven into this examination. The fact that you are listening, reflecting, and evaluating means you are already shifting direction. Awareness changes trajectory. You are no longer moving unconsciously. You are intentionally observing your patterns. Your spiritual checkup is not about discovering that you are failing. It is about discovering where you need support, where you need rest, where you need release, where you need reconnection. Because once you identify these areas, something else becomes clear. There has been a subtle strategy working against your health. Not obvious, not dramatic, but intentional. And when that strategy is exposed, you will understand why this heavenly alert could not wait. Now we uncover what has been operating quietly behind the scenes. Because once you complete a spiritual checkup, you begin to see patterns. And patterns reveal strategy. When God says, "This concerns your health," it is not only about your habits or your stress levels. It is also about recognizing that there has been a calculated attempt to weaken you slowly rather than confront you suddenly. The enemy's health strategy is rarely dramatic at first. It is subtle. It is patient. It understands that most people react quickly to crisis but ignore gradual decline. So instead of attacking with something obvious, the strategy is erosion. The first tactic is distraction. Distraction keeps you from noticing what your body is trying to communicate. Constant noise, endless scrolling, continuous entertainment, non-stop busyness. If you are always stimulated, you never sit long enough to evaluate your condition. And if you never evaluate, you never adjust. Distraction delays awareness. Awareness delayed becomes vulnerability. How often have you felt tired but reached for your phone instead of rest? How often have you sensed emotional heaviness but drowned it in productivity? Distraction convinces you that movement equals progress. But sometimes movement is avoidance. When you avoid stillness, you avoid healing. The second tactic is delay. Delay whispers, "It's not that serious. You'll handle it next week. You're just overthinking." Delay minimizes warning signs until they multiply. That mild fatigue becomes chronic exhaustion. That minor tension becomes persistent pain. That small emotional wound becomes deep resentment. Delay stretches minor issues into major problems. Delay also affects medical wisdom. Postponing checkups, ignoring symptoms, hoping things resolve on their own without investigation. Wisdom is not fear. Wisdom is proactive. But delay convinces you that time will solve what requires attention. The third tactic is doubt. Doubt makes you question your own intuition. You feel that something is off, but doubt says, "You're exaggerating." You sense you need rest, but doubt says you're being lazy. You feel prompted to change habits, but doubt says it won't make a difference. Doubt silences internal alarms. It creates confusion where there should be clarity, and confusion keeps you stuck. The fourth tactic is gradual draining. This is perhaps the most dangerous. Instead of overwhelming you instantly, the strategy is to reduce your strength slowly. A little less sleep each night, a little more stress each week, a little less joy each month, until you wake up one day feeling unlike yourself, unable to pinpoint when the shift occurred. Gradual draining is effective because it feels normal. You adapt. You adjust downward. You lower your expectations of how good you are supposed to feel. You tell yourself that constant fatigue is part of adulthood, that mental fog is standard, that emotional heaviness is just life. But you were not designed for constant depletion. There is also isolation as a strategic tool. When you withdraw, you lose perspective. You stop hearing encouragement. You stop receiving correction. You stop being reminded that your health matters. Isolation magnifies problems and minimizes solutions. It creates an echo chamber of stress. Another element is overload. Taking on responsibilities that exceed your capacity. Saying yes to protect others' comfort while sacrificing your own stability. Overload feels noble at first, but sustained overload leads to breakdown. And the enemy understands that if he can keep you overextended, you will not have the margin to restore yourself. To something important, none of these tactics are explosive. They are cumulative. That is why they are effective. They do not demand emergency response. They invite gradual neglect. But tonight, exposure breaks momentum. When a strategy is exposed, it loses power. When you see distraction for what it is, you limit it. When you recognize delay, you act. When you identify doubt, you challenge it. When you detect gradual draining, you reverse it intentionally. You must understand this clearly. The goal was never immediate destruction. The goal was diminished capacity, reduced energy, lower focus, decrease resilience. Because if your health weakens, your purpose feels heavier. Your calling feels harder. Your assignments feel overwhelming. But you are not powerless in this. You can reduce distraction. You can refuse delay. You can silence doubt. You can replenish what has been draining. Exposure creates responsibility. Now that you see the pattern, you cannot return to unconscious living. Awareness demands action. And here is the encouragement woven into this revelation. The fact that the strategy required subtlety means you are stronger than direct confrontation could handle. If you were easily defeated, there would have been no need for gradual erosion. The slow drain was necessary because your strength is significant. But strength must be maintained. From this point forward, you must guard your peace as seriously as you guard your schedule. Guard your rest as seriously as you guard your responsibilities. Guard your emotional health as seriously as you guard your productivity. Because something powerful is about to happen. Exposure has occurred. The strategy is no longer hidden. And when hidden strategies are brought into light, shifts begin immediately. In the next part, we step into that shift. Not theory, not analysis. Activation. Restoration begins to move. And what comes next will not only expose weakness, it will initiate healing. Exposure is powerful, but exposure alone is not the end. It is the beginning. Now that the strategy has been revealed, now that the hidden route has been identified, now that the urgency of midnight has been understood, something must shift. And not gradually, not eventually. Now, The healing shift begins in the moment you decide that depletion will no longer define you. There is a transition that happens internally before it manifests externally. It is subtle, but it is indecisive. It is the moment you stop identifying with exhaustion and start aligning with restoration. The moment you stop saying, "This is just how I am now," and begin declaring, "This is not my final state." Your body is listening to the language of your mind. Your nervous system responds to the tone of your thoughts. When you repeatedly declare fatigue, limitation, and defeat, your body adapts downward. But when you begin to speak life, hope, and renewal, even before you feel it, your internal systems begin to recalibrate. The healing shift begins with peace. Peace is not passive. Peace is powerful. It tells your heart that it can slow down. It tells your muscles they can release. It tells your mind it does not have to scan for danger constantly. Peace lowers what stress has elevated. It rebuilds what anxiety has worn down. Right now, take a slow breath again. Inhale deeply. Hold it briefly. Exhale slowly. That simple act signals safety. And safety is where healing thrives. The shift also begins with permission. Permission to rest without guilt. Permission to say no without apology. Permission to prioritize your health without feeling selfish. Many of you have been operating as if your needs are secondary. But neglecting yourself does not serve anyone long term. When you are restored, you serve from overflow, not depletion. There is something else happening in this moment. As awareness and decision meet, your body begins adjusting. Cortisol levels decrease when stress perception changes. Heart rate variability improves when breathing slows. Muscles release when the mind stops bracing. You may not feel fireworks, but subtle biological corrections begin almost immediately when peace replaces pressure. And this is not only physical, it is spiritual alignment. When you realign spiritually, strength flows differently. Instead of striving alone, you operate from connection. Instead of carrying burdens independently, you distribute weight through surrender. Spiritual alignment reduces internal friction. It simplifies what overthinking complicates. The enemy's strategy was draining. God's response is restoring. But here is the key. Restoration requires cooperation. You cannot return to the same patterns tomorrow and expect different results. The shift that begins now must be guarded intentionally. Guard your mornings. Even 5 minutes of stillness before engaging the world can recalibrate your entire day. Guard your evenings. Reduce stimulation before sleep. Let your mind slow down. Guard your thoughts. Challenge catastrophic thinking. Replace it with truth. Guard your body. Hydrate. Move gently. Rest adequately. These are not dramatic acts. They are consistent ones. And consistency rebuilds what crisis would otherwise destroy. You may be wondering, how do I know this shift is real? You will notice it first in subtle ways. A calmer response where you once reacted sharply. A deeper breath where you once felt tightness. A clearer thought where there was fog. Healing often begins quietly before it becomes visible. And here is something important. Do not rush the process. Healing is not always instant, but it is progressive when nurtured. Every peaceful decision compounds. Every boundary strengthens resilience. Every release lightens your system. Right now, restoration is not far from you. It is activated by agreement. Agree that your health matters. Agree that depletion is not your destiny. Agree that divine protection is present. And hold this awareness carefully. What comes next seals this shift in a way that ensures it is not temporary, There is a covering, a protection, a guarding principle that must be activated so that what begins now continues tomorrow. You will be glad you stayed attentive for what is about to unfold. Before we move forward, seal this shift with intention. Type "I step into healing" in the comments as a declaration of alignment. Blessing code 862 is now activated over your body, your mind, and your spirit. Let this be the moment where restoration moves from theory into reality. What is happening right now is bigger than one person. Healing is spreading beyond this moment. If this message has ignited restoration in you, imagine the countless others who are still silently draining, unaware that a shift is possible. When you sow into this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal, the link waiting in the description, and the PayPal QR code flashing in this video, you are releasing oil into a lamp that refuses to go out. Scripture declares that when you sow into good ground, your harvest is pressed down, shaken together, and running over. This is fertile ground for souls. As you give, you are not losing, you are planting. And every seed becomes light in someone else's midnight hour. I am calling you now. Move in obedience. Activate your seed. Let your generosity become someone's healing breakthrough. A shift has begun. Restoration has been activated. But a healing that begins must also be guarded. Because what you protect, you preserve. And what you neglect after breakthrough can slowly slip back into old patterns. This is why this moment is critical. The enemy's strategy was gradual draining. Your strategy now must be intentional guarding. Healing is not only about receiving strength, it is about sustaining it. The first way you guard your healing is through daily awareness. You cannot return to unconscious living. Pay attention to your body's signals. Notice when tension begins to rise instead of waiting for it to explode. Notice when your thoughts become anxious instead of allowing them to spiral. Awareness allows early correction. Early correction prevents escalation. The second way you guard your healing is through disciplined rest. Rest is not laziness. Rest is maintenance. If you only rest when you collapse, you have waited too long. Schedule rest as deliberately as you schedule responsibilities. Your body repairs during sleep. Your mind reorganizes during quiet. Your nervous system resets when it feels safe enough to power down. Guard your nights. Reduce stimulation before bed. Protect your mornings. Begin with calm instead of chaos. The third way is through your words. Speak life over your body. This is not denial of reality, it is alignment with possibility. Instead of saying, "I'm always tired," begin saying, "My strength is being renewed." Instead of declaring, "My health is failing," begin declaring, "My body is aligning with restoration." Words influence internal belief. Belief influences biological response. When your internal dialogue shifts, your physical systems follow. Another layer of guarding is removing toxic environments. Some spaces amplify stress. Some conversations drain peace. Some relationships increase anxiety. You must evaluate what consistently leaves you depleted. Guarding your healing may require limiting exposure to negativity. That does not mean abandoning compassion. It means preserving capacity. Boundaries are protective walls, not weapons. They do not push people away. They define healthy interaction. When you establish boundaries around your time, your energy, and your mental space, you reduce overload. Reduced overload sustains healing. Also guard your thoughts. Not every thought deserves attention. Catastrophic thinking increases stress chemistry. Worst-case imagination keeps your body in alert mode. When anxious thoughts arise, challenge them. Ask, is this true? Is this helpful? Is this necessary? Replace fear-driven assumptions with grounded truth. Physical stewardship matters too. Nourish your body intentionally. Hydrate consistently. Move regularly, not excessively, but gently and consistently. Your body was designed for motion and replenishment. Small consistent habits outperform extreme temporary efforts. Guard your healing through sustainable practices. Spiritual rhythm must also be maintained. Do not drift again. Even brief daily connection recalibrates your internal world. Reflection, gratitude, prayer, silence. These moments strengthen resilience. They remind you that you are not carrying life alone. And now listen carefully. Guarding your healing also requires community. Isolation made you vulnerable. Connection strengthens you. Share your journey with someone trustworthy. Accountability sustains discipline. Encouragement reinforces commitment. And here is something crucial. Expect resistance. When you shift patterns, old habits attempt to reclaim territory. You may feel tempted to overwork again, to skip rest, to ignore signals, to return to delay. This is where guarding becomes active. Do not interpret resistance as failure. Interpret it as confirmation that change is occurring. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. You do not need dramatic actions daily. You need faithful ones. Small acts compound into stability. And now, I want to pause and speak directly to you. If this message has helped you recognize how to guard your health, engage right now. Like this video as a declaration that you are committed to sustaining restoration. Share it with someone who needs to understand how to protect their healing. Comment, I will guard my health as a public commitment to intentional stewardship. And if you have not already, subscribe to this channel so you remain connected to messages that strengthen your spirit and protect your well-being. When you engage, you are reinforcing this shift, not only for yourself, but for others walking the same journey. Remember this, healing is not fragile when it is guarded. It becomes fortified. It becomes resilient. It becomes stable. And something even more powerful is about to happen. You have recognized the warning. You have identified the route. You have exposed the strategy. You have activated the shift. You are now guarding the healing. But there is a final layer, something that seals your body under protection in a way that prevents future silent erosion. What comes next is not suggestion. It is declaration. It is authority spoken over your body, your cells, your systems. And once it is spoken, it changes how you walk forward from this midnight moment. Now we move from awareness and guarding into authority. There comes a moment when reflection must become proclamation. When understanding must become declaration. You have examined the warning. You have identified the roots. You have exposed the strategy. You have activated the shift and committed to guard it. But now, you must speak. There is power in declaration. Not because words are magical, but because words align your internal world with intention. Your body responds to the story you repeatedly tell it. Your nervous system listens to the tone of your voice. Your mind follows the direction of your speech. And when you speak with clarity and conviction, something inside you reorganizes. So right now, this is not passive listening. This is participation. Speak over your body. Declare, my body is not an enemy. It is my ally. It is responding to restoration. Your organs are listening. Your heart is listening. Your lungs are listening. Your immune system is listening. Cells regenerate daily. Systems recalibrate constantly. The body was designed with resilience woven into it. When you speak life, you reinforce that design. Now declare over your heart, my heart beats with strength and steadiness. Anxiety does not control its rhythm. Peace regulates my pulse. Your heart responds to stress perception. When fear decreases, rhythm stabilizes. When peace increases, variability improves. Speak stability over it. Declare over your mind, my thoughts are clear. My mind is calm. Confusion leaves. Focus returns. Mental clarity reduces strain on the body. Overthinking creates tension. Clarity reduces unnecessary alarm signals. Speak clarity intentionally. Declare over your nervous system, I am safe. I am not under constant threat. My body can relax. Safety is foundational for healing. The nervous system shifts from survival mode to restoration mode when it senses safety. Words that communicate safety reinforce that shift. Declare over your immune system, my defenses are strong. My body recognizes and removes what does not belong. Your immune system responds to chronic stress by weakening. Reduced stress strengthens response. Align your speech with resilience. Now address fatigue directly. Exhaustion does not define me. Strength is returning. Energy is being restored. Even if you do not feel full energy yet, declaration sets direction. It shifts identity from depletion to renewal. There may also be generational patterns in your health history that have caused concern. But hear this clearly. History does not dictate destiny. Speak this. I am not bound by patterns of the past. My health story is being rewritten. Fear of inherited conditions can create chronic anxiety. Chronic anxiety affects physical systems. Break that cycle by speaking freedom. Declare over sleep, my nights are peaceful. My rest is deep. My body repairs as I sleep. Sleep is when restoration accelerates. Speaking expectation of rest prepares your mind to release tension at night. And now declare over your future, I will walk in vitality. I will not live in constant depletion. My days are marked by stability. These declarations are not denial of reality. They are direction for reality. But there is something deeper happening here. When you speak over your body, you take ownership. You move from victim to steward. You shift from reacting to commanding alignment. Authority is not aggression. It is clarity. It is alignment between belief and action. You are not commanding your body harshly. You are guiding it compassionately. You are reminding it of its design. You are cooperating with its healing mechanisms. And do not underestimate repetition. One declaration is powerful. Repeated declarations reshape internal narratives. Make this a daily practice. Speak in the morning. Speak before sleep. Speak when fear attempts to rise. Your body is not fragile beyond repair. It is adaptive. It is responsive. It is capable of restoration when conditions support it. And here is something critical. Declaration must align with behavior. If you speak peace, choose peaceful habits. If you speak rest, to protect your sleep. If you speak strength, nourish your body. Words and actions together create momentum. Right now, something is shifting internally. As you declare, you are not only influencing your thoughts, you are reducing stress signals. You are calming internal alarms. You are reinforcing safety. This is not superstition. It is alignment. Your body has been listening to fear long enough. It has been listening to doubt long enough. Tonight, it hears something different. It hears authority. It hears hope. Here's intentional direction. And this is not the end. Because after declaration comes sealing. After authority comes covering. There is a prayer that must now be spoken. Not long, not complicated, but intentional. A prayer that seals this prophetic declaration before midnight completes its cycle. What you are about to step into is not repetition. It is reinforcement. And once it is spoken, you will sense that this moment has truly marked a turning point. We have reached the sealing moment. You have been warned. You have examined. You have identified the root. You have exposed the strategy. You have activated the shift. You have declared authority over your body. Now, before midnight completes its passage, we seal this with prayer. Not a rushed prayer. Not a distracted prayer. A focused, intentional covering. Right now, wherever you are, pause again. If possible, close your eyes. If you cannot, soften your focus. Take one slow breath in and release it slowly. This is your midnight prayer of protection. Heavenly Father, I come before you with awareness and humility. You have sent this alert not to frighten me, but to protect me. You have highlighted my health because it matters. My body matters. My strength matters. And I acknowledge that I cannot sustain myself by effort alone. Right now, I ask for your covering over my entire body. From the top of my head to the soles of my feet, let restoration flow. Where stress has taken root, release peace. Where fear has created tension, release calm. Where exhaustion has lingered, release renewal. I ask that every system in my body align with health. Let my heart beat with steady rhythm. Let my lungs breathe deeply and freely. Let my immune system function with strength and precision. Let inflammation decrease. Let balance return. If there are hidden imbalances I am unaware of, bring them gently to light so they can be addressed early. Protect me from sudden crisis. Protect me from silent deterioration. Guard me from neglecting warning signs again. Where I have carried burdens that were not mine to carry, I release them now. I surrender anxiety. I surrender resentment. I surrender fear of the future. I surrender the pressure to hold everything together alone. Replace striving with trust. Replace tension with peace. Replace depletion with strength. Guard my sleep tonight. Let my body enter deep rest. As I sleep, repair what stress has worn down. Restore what fatigue has drained. Reset what has been overloaded. Place a boundary around my mind. Protect it from intrusive thoughts. Protect it from catastrophic imagination. Protect it from replaying what should be released. Let calm settle over my thoughts like a shield. Protect my emotions as well. Where there hath been irritability, plant patience. Where there hath been heaviness, plant hope. Where there has been discouragement, plant resilience. And if there are generational patterns of illness or weakness that have created fear in me, I ask that those patterns stop here. Let wisdom guide my choices. Let courage replace anxiety about history. My future is not dictated by fear. Help me guard what you are restoring. Remind me to rest. Remind me to breathe. Remind me to set boundaries. Remind me to seek help when needed. Remind me that prevention is wisdom, not weakness. Before midnight passes, seal this shift. Let this moment mark the end of silent erosion. Let this be the line where gradual draining stops and intentional living begins. I receive protection. I receive stability. I receive strength. And I commit to stewarding my health with awareness and responsibility. Now take another slow breath. Notice how your body feels. Even slight relaxation is significant. Even subtle calm is evidence that your system is responding. This prayer is not superstition. It is alignment. It is surrender combined with responsibility. It is acknowledging that you are both spiritually covered and personally accountable. Do not expect dramatic sensation. Expect steady reinforcement. Protection often feels quiet. Stability often feels subtle. But consistency transforms subtle into substantial over time. And understand this clearly. This prayer is not a substitute for wisdom. If you need medical evaluation, seek it. If you need professional support, pursue it. Divine protection and practical action work together. Faith is not neglect. Faith is partnership. Tonight, before midnight, something has been sealed. A decision has been made. A pattern has been interrupted. A covering has been activated. You are not leaving this moment the same way you entered it. And now, there is only one final step, one final assurance, one final blessing that will anchor everything you have received tonight and send you forward not in fear, but in confidence. We have reached the final moment of this urgent heavenly alert. Midnight is no longer something to fear. It has become a marker, a dividing line, a sacred checkpoint where awareness replaced neglect, where authority replaced anxiety, where restoration replaced silent erosion. And now, hear this clearly. You are not leaving this message vulnerable. You are leaving it covered. When God said, "This concerns your health," it was not a threat. It was protection. It was love interrupting routine. It was mercy stepping in before momentum carried you too far. The very fact that you heard this before midnight means heaven intervened early. There is assurance in that. You are not alone in your body. You are not abandoned in your stress. You are not unseen in your exhaustion. Every signal your body has sent, heaven noticed. Every quiet burden you carried, heaven saw. Every moment you pushed through fatigue, it was recorded. And instead of condemnation, you received warning. Instead of crisis, you received clarity. That is grace. I walk forward with confidence, not fear. Fear weakens. Confidence stabilizes. You have already taken steps tonight. Awareness, release, declaration, prayer. These are not small acts. They are turning points. But here is the upliftment you must carry beyond this moment. Your body was designed to heal. It was designed to recalibrate. It was designed with resilience embedded in it. When you align spiritually, emotionally, and practically, your systems cooperate with restoration. Do not expect perfection overnight. Expect progress. Do not measure healing by dramatic sensation. Measure it by consistency, by improved rest, by calmer reactions, by clearer thinking, by stronger boundaries. These are signs of renewal. And if moments of fatigue return, do not panic. Return to awareness. If stress rises, return to breathe. If fear whispers, return to declaration. Healing is guarded through repetition. Midnight has passed in the spirit. A new day has begun. Carry this assurance. You are not fragile beyond repair. You are not destined for silent decline. You are not trapped in generational patterns. You are capable of stability. You are capable of vitality. You are capable of sustainable strength. Let this be the night you stopped ignoring subtle warnings. Let this be the night you chose stewardship over survival. Let this be the night you decided your health is sacred. There is peace over you now. There is covering over you now. There is wisdom available to you now. Walk differently tomorrow. Sleep intentionally tonight. Guard your peace fiercely. Choose your habits carefully. Speak life daily. And when you remember this message in the coming days, do not remember it as an alarm. Remember it as alignment. Now seal this moment with intention. Type "My body is covered" in the comments as a declaration that this shift is permanent. Blessing code 935 is now activated over your health, your mind, and your future. Let it mark this night as the beginning of sustainable strength. What happened here tonight must continue reaching others. There are souls silently pushing through exhaustion, unaware that heaven is sending warnings wrapped in mercy. When you give through super thanks, membership, or PayPal, using the link in the description or the PayPal QR code on your screen, you are sowing into a river of restoration. Scripture declares that those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed. As you release your seed, heaven releases provision over you. As you pour into this mission, oil multiplies in your own house. I am speaking directly to you. Be the vessel that keeps this light burning in someone else's midnight hour. Activate your generosity now. To boldly let obedience unlock blessing. You are covered. You are strengthened. You are aligned. And this alert has fulfilled its purpose. Stay aware. Stay guarded. Stay restored.